Hello, my name is Angela McCrae. I am the owner and founder of Springfield Astrology and springfieldastrology.com. And I'm coming to you from a little town outside of Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm a professional practicing astrologer. It is just after the solar eclipse. I did try to make a recording before the solar eclipse today, but it just wasn't happening. All of these Aries planets really hit my first house pretty hard, and man, it wiped me out. But as the energy is clearing, as it does, things are a little easier. So we want to talk today about how the solar eclipse could affect you and your chart, and also collectively what it's doing. I personally like to look at different types of astrology when I'm trying to figure out the importance of a situation. There are certain things that I really key into because I'm more knowledgeable about one type or another. But I really like the idea of looking at it from all sides and then taking the knowledge that seems the most reputable and has been researched and really sort of applying that to reading the energy of what's going on. So we know astronomy is really the physical bodies that are moving in the sky around us, and astrology is the study of the energy of those physical bodies, planets, asteroids, stars. So this new moon happened to take place at 19 degrees Aries and 24 minutes. The new moon is when the moon and the sun are in exact alignment, so you can see them both at 1924. You will also see this little guy over here. That's Chiron. He is an asteroid or centaur, and a lot of astrologers put a lot of value in the energy that Chiron has in our chart, so we can't ignore him because he is at the exact degree and minute as the sun and the moon as well. So the nodes of the moon are what is telling us there is an eclipse as opposed to just a new moon. So the closer these nodes of the moon are to the sun and the moon conjunction, that tells us how, like, if it's an eclipse and how powerful this eclipse is going to be. So being at 15 degrees 38 minutes on the nodal axis, we're pretty darn close to the sun and the moon. So that's going to give us our eclipse information. Now, if you have any planets in your natal birth chart that are around 19 degrees Aries or 19 degrees Libra, because we're looking at it kind of as an opposition as well as a conjunction, you were probably hit pretty hard with this eclipse. What does that mean to be hit pretty hard? Well, that means that your energy just feels a little bit off. It could mean that something came to light for you that had been hidden before. Maybe you found out some news that had been going on for a while that you didn't know about. It could also mean that you're kind of triggered a little bit easier. Maybe you're quicker to anger, or maybe you're more emotional. All of those things are triggered by an eclipse if you have planets or angles. So it could be like your rising sign or your midheaven. If those things exist for you around that axis, the Aries-Libra axis, or even at 19 degrees of any other planet, like you'll see Jupiter here is at 19 Taurus. There are other planets that you could have in your chart that are at 19 degrees that could also feel really difficult. Another thing to look at is where this planetary conjunction hits in your chart wheel. So if you are Aries rising, these planets would most likely fill up your first house. So that tells us where the energy is going to be located in our life. So for me, remember I said I have a lot of these planets were hitting my first house. That was telling me that my physical body is going to be affected. It's going to be tired, potentially. So it depends on a lot of other stuff, but for the most part, the houses are a good way to look at this. Like, where is this eclipse energy hitting your own life and your own chart? And it really lights up that area of your life too. And for an extended period of time, there's a little bit of back and forth on exactly how long an eclipse energy exists. But there's a lot of people that believe it's a 6-month out cycle. So you could feel this for 6 months. It could affect you for a longer period of time if it is really prominent in your chart. Everybody has 19 degrees Aries somewhere in their chart, but wherever it hits yours, this is where it's going to sort of affect the energy of your life. So let's talk a little bit about the new moon. On every new moon, my advice to anyone and everyone is write down your wishes. You can call them wishes. You can call it manifestation. You can make a vision board. But new moons are the time for planting seeds. And this can be physical. A lot of farmers, in fact, I don't want to say probably all farmers, believe that planting, I think the phrase is you plant in the dark of the moon. When you plant on the new moon, you are planting a seed for a new cycle. So as you're writing down your wishes or your manifestations, you can visualize, okay, I'm planting a seed for this next cycle. This is very important. I think visualization when you're manifesting is extremely important. Also, write it down. No typing it out on your notes section of your phone. Physical writing has a lot of power. So think about that. And definitely the closer to the new moon you are, the more potent that energy is. So we're a couple hours out from the new moon right now. I'll probably go ahead and make my list. I really love to follow Jan Spiller's recommendation for how to use the new moon energy. She is not with us anymore, but she has written fabulous books about the energy of the moon and soulful astrology. But her book, New Moon Astrology, is fantastic. So if you're a Virgo, if you're maybe even a Capricorn who wants to go by the rules and write down those wishes in the exact way you're supposed to do it, New Moon Astrology by Jan Spiller is fabulous. So write down your new wishes. What does Aries rule? Aries rules new beginnings. Aries rules the head. So in health-related issues, headaches, skin acne, eye problems, all of those are ruled by Aries. So if you are looking for some healing, if you have chronic headaches, or something like that going on in your life, that's a part of the head. Anything that Aries is involved with is extra potent at this time. So maybe your wishes will read something like, I'm asking for complete healing of glaucoma, or things that you have going on in those areas of your life. It also is great for, like I said, new beginnings, but starting new adventures. If you have a new business, it's a great time for all of that. So for you in your personal life, use this new moon energy to start building your dreams, especially in Aries, because not only is it a new moon, which is bringing about new moon energy, but it's a new moon in Aries, which is initiating. Go, do it. If you've lacked the energy or the, I don't know, just you've been feeling tired and things aren't working out for you, harness the energy of the Aries new moon. It will get you going. So some other things to look at in this this eclipse and this new moon, we have Mars and Saturn in a very tight conjunction. Also, Jupiter and Uranus are pretty close together, and that's called a conjunction as well. What this is telling me is that there is something that will potentially be coming to light in the realm of old regime. So when I look at Mars and Saturn together, this really speaks to me of like an old regime, something that is has been moving forward, that is building something that was around for a long time. That doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, because Saturn is about structure Saturn is about things that last. Mars is about taking action. So with the eclipse energy mixed in, and guess what? The eclipse is in Aries, which is new beginnings. What this is saying is that this Aries new beginning energy is going to shed light on old systems of the past. What kind of light? That's to be determined. We don't always know exactly the direction that that's going to point in. And also, Jupiter and Uranus being in this tight conjunction over at the top of the chart is really speaking toward instant growth. And Uranus is not about the past. And in fact, it's as far from the past as you can get. Uranus is instant. It's in the moment. It's immediate. Think about when you hit the drum. That's an immediate sound. That's an action. So with Jupiter and Uranus together, which is speaking of like immediate growth and change, which is how this is talking to me, and Mars and Saturn are kind of sitting there in Pisces, hanging out, kind of feeling bad for themselves, to be honest with you. They don't like being in Pisces. That's not a happy sign for them. This is telling me that there's a change coming that's going to light up an old structure in our collective lives, and there could be a very quick forward momentum that we are not expecting because Uranus is not expected. So we're going to keep that in mind a little bit. Don't let this cause you anxiety or affect how you feel about the things that are going on. This is just something that's there. And eventually, like an eclipse, the light is going to come back. We are going to see what was beyond the shadows. So it should be very interesting to watch. Now, one of the things that I want to touch on vibrational astrology for a minute, because remember I said I'm trying to look at this from lots of angles, because to me it's kind of like a puzzle piece that you put together until bam, like now it's figured out. So in vibrational astrology, which we haven't talked a whole lot about, I just want to show you what the 17th vibration or 17th harmonic of this solar eclipse looks like. This is powerful. You don't have to know anything about astrology to see all of this stuff. Now we don't just have the sun and the moon, we have Neptune. Chiron's still there, as he's going to be, but Neptune is right alongside them. Okay? It's opposite Uranus at 29 degrees also. Again, this is like, and 17th vibration is community. It is relating to people of other cultures and other societies. This is like a cultural awareness that has come about and will probably be brought about by something completely out of the blue that's unexpected. So this sort of sense of cultural awareness coming to light, it feels like it's somebody's dream or somebody's vision for this. Maybe it's the dream and vision of the country. And it will be communicated because we have Mercury up here in a T-square. So it will be known. So it will be really interesting to see what the 17th vibration has in store for us with this eclipse. So I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about Karmic astrology. The Vedic astrologers and a lot of astrologers view the nodes of the moon, this is the north node and this is the south node, of being very important when it comes to our past, what our past lives have been, where we are going, how we are evolving as souls. So there's a lot of work around an eclipse because the nodes are part of an eclipse and how that translates to the type of eclipse that's going on. And then we start seeing patterns. So there's something called a Saros cycle. It took me a while to understand this. And so I want to try to explain it in a way that you can understand because I think it's important. Now, the Babylonians discovered this about 3,000 years ago. They're not exactly sure, but it was discovered a long time ago. About every 18 years, 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours, an eclipse happens that is very similar to another eclipse that has happened in the past. Okay, so if you think about it like a timeline, every 18 years and some change, then you go 18 years, 18 years. The eclipses that happen on those intervals are very similar in relation to the sun, moon, and earth and how everything lines up. So here is the eclipse that happened on March 29th of 2006. That was the last eclipse of this family in the Saros cycle. So you can see the sun and the moon are at 8 degrees Aries. It looks a little different, but look how close they are together. Okay, so then you're going to go back 18 years past that. What the Babylonians started doing is realizing they could use this in predictive astrology. They could say, hey, what was the energy of that eclipse 18 years ago? How can it affect us today? And actually something I just noticed is that Chiron is at 8 degrees Aquarius. That's very interesting. So Chiron is actually still in this little, in this solar eclipse that happened back in 2006. The path of totality was not over the United States at that time, which is why this eclipse that happened today is even more powerful. So the point of this is to talk about these Saros cycles, the 18-year cycles of the eclipses, because that's how we look at the underlying thread between these systems. So this specific family of eclipses that we just had today has been around since the year 1501, that we can have documented through scientific methods. And it will continue through 2763. And again, that's every 18 years and some change. So there's a Karmic astrologer who is very well known in the industry named Aleksander Imsiragic. And I probably pronounced that wrong. I realized today that I haven't actually said his name very often, but he is out of Belgrade. He was the former president of ESAR for lots of years. That's the Society for Astrological Research. He has his own school, very well known. He has a fantastic book called The Dragon Book. And the Dragon Book documents the Saros cycles as being dragon families. The cool thing about this, and this is why astrology is so interesting, is that what he's doing is he's using these families of dragons as a way to describe the energy of the eclipses. Is there a dragon out there floating around in the sky right now that is this theme? Probably not. Excuse me. But the energy is what he's speaking to. And he's using these types of archetypes, in a sense, as dragons. Now, part of why they call it a dragon is because in Vedic astrology, the north and south node are the head and tail of the dragon. So we are in Vedic astrology, we are reaching our north node. We need to constantly be going after the north node energy. We are leaving behind the south node. So the north node is what we go after, what we're supposed to be attacking, and the south node shoots it out the back. It's what we don't need any longer. But the south node does help us achieve what we're trying to reach on the north node. Sounds confusing. It is a little bit. And the more you really get into this type of astrology, I use it in all my readings, the north and south node, because I do think they're very important. I have seen it hit the nail on the head more times than just about anything, or as much as just about anything else. So I do believe in the importance of the energy of those north and south nodes. So this is this eclipse, and you can look up these Saros cycles in NASA, like the NASA website lists Saros cycles as well. This is the North Node one. It's the 139th Saros cycle family. And Alexander calls this the male golden dragon and the Saros cycle family. So we're talking about the family of the male golden dragon. So he also puts a lot of energy into your prenatal eclipse. So your prenatal eclipse is the closest solar eclipse to when you were born. It doesn't necessarily have to do with conception. It has to do with your birthday. So you would look back on that year of when you were born, and the solar eclipse that happened closest to your birthday is what he considers this dragon family, or this Saros family, as being what you sort of embody from the past, what you're carrying with you here in this lifetime. It's very interesting. I do have the dragon book, which is the size of a coffee table. So I can't show it because it would be taking up the whole screen. So you're just going to have to trust me. So when you're talking about these cycles of eclipses, I'm going to give you some dates. And if your prenatal eclipse happened, your closest prenatal eclipse happened on any of these dates, then you are in the male golden dragon Saros cycle family. You can take out the dragon part and just call it the Saros cycle. Really, the archetypes help us describe the energy. That's what they're there for. So, excuse me. March 29th, 2006, that was the last eclipse in the Saros cycle. Before that, we go to March 18th, 1988. So chances are, if you were born in April, at the end of March, I would say probably through the summer of 1988, this would be your prenatal solar. And we can look this up too, by the way. All of this stuff is easily trackable. So the one before that was March 7th, March 7th, 1970, February 25th, 1952, and February 14th, 1934. So those are the last 5 Saros cycles in this family. Last 5 eclipses in this Saros cycle family. Also, not just how it affected you, but how it affected everything else. So if we're looking at today being April 8th, back in March 29th of 2006, what was going on for you? Think about that. What were you doing around April of 2006? And that energy can be similar to what's happening today. Will it be exact? No, because look at the solar eclipse. Lots of different things going on. However, the sun and the moon are very close. And this is really showing us, okay, and look here, this was an aspect to Saturn when I was talking about the past and old regimes and so forth. So it gives us a hint. So definitely, if you're interested in Saros cycles, if you're interested in Karmic astrology, Aleksander Imsiragic is fantastic in that regard. He's written a lot of books. I highly recommend it. And if you want the Dragon book, you definitely can't get that on Amazon, I don't believe. It weighs like 35 pounds, I think. But I have a hookup for that, so I can help you there. This is also the family of the true power of service. Okay, so if your prenatal eclipse happened during this time, This is going to have more power for you. This is going to be the family, the dragon family or the Saros family that you belong in. This particular eclipse has a Sun-Jupiter energy, and it speaks to generational conflict. There can be a strong spiritual inclination, which kind of pulls you out of this. It seems to pull you out of this generational conflict, but it's also a need for material achievement, wealth, which can drive family and marriage partners away if you don't properly harness this energy. It also speaks to property and money. So the positive side of this, if you are part of this family, I mean, we are all a part of this family because we just went through this all together. The things that are important to consider so that we reach the highest potential of this energy is that we have true wisdom through education. We learn to serve. And we are careful of the manner of speech that we have. We must not engage in negative talk. And he speaks to definitely speak of light and liberation. So this is another way, and I find it fascinating that we can think about the energy of this eclipse. It's about service. It's about the fact that if we put wealth and money above our family, we can drive them away. So the things that we need to be careful of, as he spoke to, are speaking negatively, speaking very harshly. And we really have to, it's really calling us to go through some education to bring really the wisdom of this energy to surface. And we have to serve other people. So what does this mean in my life? If there is somebody in your life that is basically going full bore ahead in the opposite direction of what the energy of this eclipse is doing, my prediction would be that they're going to get stopped in their tracks at some point. So if I'm speaking towards going back, old regime, quick change and growth happening out of nowhere, and then we flash back to the 17th vibration, which is saying, we have to be more collective in how we deal with communities and people of other ethnicities and cultures. To me, this is all speaking a very similar message. And that message is we can't get by with doing things the way that we have done them before. Now that the light has happened, we are now enlightened with this knowledge. We have to use what we have to serve other people and collectively bring groups of people together rather than driving them apart and letting the wedge of money and material things sort of get in the way. So that is very interesting. If you've had trouble with this eclipse, everybody feels something. If they're not aware of it, it's probably because it didn't really hit their chart too hard, or maybe they're just not a very self-aware person, but it's hitting somewhere in the lives of all of us. So be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and just understand that this is something that we're all going through. Make your new moon wishes and your manifestations. Those are very important on every new moon. I'm hopefully going to be doing a talk on each new moon about reminding people what the new moon energy is about, more potent things to manifest during the new moon, and kind of how to work with that energy each month. So please go to springfieldastrology.com. If you go today and book today or tomorrow, I have it running through tomorrow, and book, select one of the personal reports. I have, I think, 3 on the website right now. The new website is coming hopefully in the next week and a half, which will have, I think I have something like 23 different reports that you're able to select from. You send me your information. You get a PDF emailed to you of that report. There's lots of different ones, lots of different energy patterns that you can look at in your life, whatever's going on for you. So you get a PDF copy of that report. Also, if you pay, I think it's an additional, I'm going to have it set up for an additional $5. I will print it out for you and mail it. So if you go on there today or tomorrow and select a personal PDF report, I'm offering half off of all of those as an eclipse special. So the coupon code is Solar Eclipse 24. You just type that in at the end at checkout and you get a 50% off discount. And I will email that to you. It usually takes me about 24 hours or less to get the report out emailed. So do that. Book a personal reading. I'm telling you guys, it's kind of life-changing. All of the readings that I do are meant to be very positive and have a positive impact in your life. You can certainly ask as many questions as you want during a reading, and there's different time periods that you can book those for. So if you just want a quick reading for 30 minutes or something more lengthy, those options are there as well. So I wanted to leave you with one thing that I think is really cool. So Aleksander also speaks to animals in a lot of the work that he does. So each eclipse is basically there is a spirit animal or an animal associated with each eclipse because of the degree that the eclipse happened. So when I looked this up today, since we are at this 19 degrees Aries, the animal that he lists is the white lion. Now, a very good friend of mine loves the white lion. And so this really reminded me of her. I sent her this right away. But I want to read to you the significance of the white lion. This is also speaking to the energy of this eclipse today. It also speaks to you in your chart for anything between 18 degrees Aries to 22 degrees Aries and opposition Libra as well. So here's what he says about the white lion energy. The only way you should work with this shadow is to feel happiness and search for happiness. This is the energy of generous people who discovered the secret of happiness and know that it is made of 2 atoms of gratitude and 1 atom of love. This is also expressed as 2 atoms of quality and 1 atom of creativity, building the molecule of happiness that is needed for achievement of the glorious mission of the white lion energy. You should accept yourself as a happy person, regardless of the state you are in, and then work with the clear vision, never losing sight of the least common denominator for happiness within yourself. This is when great opportunities for achieving great deeds will appear. Something you craved for the whole of your life, but were never happy. I love that. Put yourself in a happy place. And your manifestation, your new moon wishes, make that come from a place of being happy. And I'm telling you, it works. Go after your dreams. And thank you very much. Please email me if you have any questions, Angela@springfieldastrology.com, or go on the website for lots